Forgiveness. It's not something that you feel, and it's not something that just happens. It's an ongoing act that requires practice and hard work. Whether you call it showing mercy, extending grace, or letting go of hard feelings, practicing forgiveness is a powerful form of self-care. This may seem like a daunting task, but it is one step you can take to improve your mental well-being. This is the third episode of Make the Connection: Real Veterans, Real Stories. In each installment, we explore different topics related to veterans' personal experiences with mental health challenges and how they found support. Today, we will hear the powerful story of one veteran whose journey to coping with the effects of military sexual trauma began when he started practicing forgiveness. Robert's story features details of sexual assault and discussion of suicidal ideation. This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Since its launch in 2011, Make the Connection has interviewed over 600 veterans from all service eras and military branches. They got help, and their lives got better. So can yours. It took Robert more than 30 years to realize the value of forgiving the fellow sailors who sexually assaulted him aboard the U.S. Navy tank landing ship where they served. The trauma upended the next 3 decades of Robert's life. How could he forgive those men? And what would be the point? The men wouldn't even know. But Robert would. And Robert is the one who needed it the most.
My name is Robert, and I served in the Navy, active duty from February 23rd, 1971 until December 27th, 1972. I was on a new ship, LST tank landing ship. We carried Marines and supplies and things like that. We were stationed in Little Creek, right outside of Norfolk, Virginia. At first, I enjoyed it. I was the engineering yeoman, which was an administrative, like a librarian. It was good until one day I went to another side of the ship to see a picture of one of my colleagues' sister-in-law that he was going to show me when we get back to Virginia Beach. And I encountered something. I made the fatal mistake of walking the other way through the middle of the ship. When I was walking, they accosted me. He began to rape me. So I hid it. It didn't happen. The next day, they told me I was walking and one passed by me. He said, if you ever say anything about what happened, we'll throw your black ass overboard. I started having nightmares. I even tried to do anything that I possibly could to get kicked out. After I did get out, I went home, I burned everything. I burned the shoes, the hats, the peacoat, the clothes. I burned everything.
The sexual assault that occurred during Robert's time in the Navy sent him into an emotional tailspin of depression, nightmares, substance misuse, and isolation. He tried his best to cope by distracting himself with constant work. Year after year, for decades, Robert projected a facade of success that was actually an unsustainable pattern of overworking during the day and using drugs and alcohol to numb his pain at night.
I was one of 10 African Americans in 1984 to be selected by Ford Motor Company with a fellowship to train for my own dealership. I was trailblazing. I would work hard during the day and drink and drug at night. But the older I got, the worse it got. The depression would get me sometime after the nightmares. And I couldn't go out of the house. It was like I had shackles. I just couldn't go. I wouldn't open the drapes. I had a nightmare, and I got drunk for a week, and they fired me. Had I had the guts to kill myself then, I would have done it, but I never did.
Robert endured this endless cycle of trying to run from the trauma of his sexual assault until he was 57 years old. That's when he started seeing counselors at VA and slowly learned to trust others again.
I started with group therapy, one-on-one, unisex therapy. Prolonged exposure was the most intense that I've ever had. It was 15 weeks. And when she told me I had to come in every Monday and tell what I just conveyed to you every Monday. And it was taped. And she gave me the tape, and I had to go home and listen to it every morning. And I had a headache every time I came out of there. But I knew I could do it. I was angry at her. I cussed her out. I got up, I walked out, I came back. But I wanted to live, and I made it through it. Prolonged exposure, I recommend to everybody. The resources are there. And I always say, they gave me a toolbox. They have a toolbox of life for us. And in that toolbox, we can open it up every day. And we can reach in that toolbox, and those tools are in there that allow us to start repairing our lives, to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly again, to get the pair of the deepest, darkest sunglasses, because the sun will rise again. I guarantee it. I'm living proof. I think about the danger that I put my life in because of that trauma. And I'm so glad that I didn't. And I'm so glad that I can reach out to any veteran that's watching this and let them know to hold on to hope.
Most everyone experiences anger, resentment, regret, or guilt at one time or another. Hanging on to these emotions can result in bitterness, depression, isolation, or relationship problems. By following a path to forgiveness, you can let those feelings go and open yourself up to other, more pleasant emotions like peace of mind, hope, and joy. Practicing forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean making up with the person who slighted or hurt you, and it definitely doesn't mean you have to forget or excuse their behavior. It does mean making a commitment to change your thought process, which isn't easy, but may ultimately allow you to regain power over the hurt. It means letting go of grudges and releasing the emotions that go with them. You may start to look at your life in more positive terms, rather than defining it by your wounds and traumas.
The power of forgiveness is a wonderful thing. I'm just glad that I didn't take my life. I'm glad that I know my purpose. I'm glad that I can reach down and pass the baton. The guilt and the shame is gone. I'm glad that I can stand tall and talk about it in adversity. It's not painful anymore. Just hold on to hope. We fall down, we get up, we don't give up. And there's just enormous, infinite amount of resources through the VA health system that can help us. But we got to take that step. All we have to do, we can pick the phone up and call.
If you are having trouble forgiving yourself for something you regret, or forgiving someone else for something that happened to you, talking to your family members and friends may be a good first step. Not only may your feelings worsen if you keep them to yourself, but your loved ones may be able to offer new perspectives on the situation that you haven't considered. They may also be able to provide you with emotional support and help you find the best services to help you work through your feelings. There are so many different types of resources and services available to you. You might think that the things you're feeling or the experiences you had are unique only to you, that it would be impossible for another person to understand or relate to what you're going through. But help is available at VA. Robert's story featured details of sexual assault and suicidal ideation. For help with treatment and healthcare related to experiences of military sexual trauma, please contact your local VA medical center and ask to speak to the MST coordinator. If you're having thoughts of harming yourself, you should talk to someone right away. You can call the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Use the Veterans Crisis Line online chat at veteranscrisisline.net or send a text message to the Veterans Crisis Line at 838-255. The Veterans Crisis Line offers free confidential support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
I love living today. And these tears aren't painful anymore. It's a cleansing. And I know my purpose. I wear my flag. I'm a proud U.S. Navy disabled PTSD military sexual trauma survivor. I'm not a victim anymore.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Make the Connection, Real Veterans, Real Stories, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. In our next episode, we will feature the stories of 4 inspiring women veterans who overcame mental health challenges on their path to recovery. Visit MakeTheConnection.net, an online resource designed to connect veterans, their family members and friends, and other supporters with information, resources, and solutions to issues affecting their lives.